best quotes of all time, where the greatest quotes on the planet become your superpower.
Eliminating everything unimportant allows you to know who you are. Simplicity doesn't change who you are. It brings you back to your true self. Courtney Carver. When we dare to set aside the superfluous layers of borrowed ambitions, social roles, and the fear of judgment, we don't become empty. On the contrary, we hear our original heartbeat more clearly. Simplicity here is not poverty or constriction, but refinement. Like a stream that, once filtered of sand and mud, becomes crystal clear, reflecting the sky just as it truly is. By shedding what is unnecessary, we reclaim the right to be ourselves, light, authentic, and steadfast. The flashy comparisons, the noisy measurements fade away, making room for the inner compass that always knows the direction, even in the darkest night. Simplifying life doesn't make us different. It unties the bonds that have obscured our essence, allowing our true self to emerge, radiant without the need for show. In that moment, we realize happiness doesn't lie in having more, but in subtracting just the right things. Not in speed, but in harmony. And when we return to ourselves, we see that peace isn't a distant destination, but a state always waiting. If only we have the courage to clear the path to come back. Return to a simple life to control desires, achieve stillness. In stillness, the world is restored. Lao Tzu. The boat drifts slowly down the river after the fierce waves. Modern life often stirs up countless desires in people, wanting more, faster, bigger, as if self-worth is measured by the level of possession. But this relentless accumulation makes the mind heavy, like a sky obscured by dark clouds of comparison and insecurity. Returning to simplicity isn't abandoning the world, but learning to reorder the inner self, knowing when enough is enough, when to stop, and when to listen. When desires are illuminated and regulated, the mind gradually settles, like a lake after the wind, flat and clear. In that state of stillness, we begin to see the world with new eyes. Colors become gentler, sounds less harsh, and small things suddenly carry great meaning. The world doesn't change, but the way we receive it does. Less distorted by cravings, less clouded by haste. Stillness, therefore, isn't escape, but restoration, restoring perception, restoring connections, restoring the ability to live fully in the present. When the inner self is rearranged, the outer world also gradually returns to its true form, simple, harmonious, and abundant in a very human way. The way you think about yourself will determine how you act, and how you act will determine what you achieve. Tracy. A silent but persistent chain of cause and effect, like an underground stream nourishing an entire forest that few notice. Every beginning sprouts from thought. The image you paint of yourself in your mind becomes the template for every choice that follows. If you look at yourself with doubtful eyes, actions will be cautious. Footsteps will hesitate before the threshold of opportunity. Conversely, when you believe in your intrinsic value, actions become decisive, like a sprout trusting the light, unafraid to push through thick soil. Actions, even small ones, repeated daily accumulate into momentum, and that momentum shapes outcomes, achievements, relationships, and even satisfaction with life. This chain isn't loud or showy, but honest to the point of harshness. You can't expect to reap sweet fruit from steps guided by self-denial. When you change how you think about yourself from lack to abundance, from fear to learning, you've turned the rudder of your entire life ship. And then, what you achieve is no longer random, but the natural consequence of an inner self placed in the right spot. Understanding this brings positive energy. You realize you're not powerless before fate, but writing your own ending day by day through your thoughts, actions, and quiet beliefs. Innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, not a threat. Steve Jobs: change is inherently neutral, like a wind blowing through a field. It can topple weak trees, but it also carries seeds far to start a new growing season. What makes the difference isn't the change itself, but the lens through which people view it. When we see change as a threat, the mind contracts, reacting with defense and fear, like closing windows tight out of fear of rain, only to miss the fresh, cool air. Conversely, those with an innovative spirit see in upheaval an invitation to learn, adapt, and reshape themselves. They understand that standing still is the greatest risk, while movement, even imperfect, is a sign of life. Innovation, therefore, isn't just creating something new, but the courage to change old ways of thinking, ready to step out of the familiar zone to explore unnamed possibilities. When fear gives way to curiosity, pressure turns into motivation, and every change, no matter how small, becomes a step leading to a broader view. We no longer get swept away by the flux, but learn to ride its waves. And in that journey, people not only adapt to a changing world, but also actively contribute to creating a better version of themselves. What is easy is often not worthwhile, and what is worthwhile is never easy. Theodore Roosevelt. People are naturally drawn to the short path, the smooth road, where rewards seem to come quickly and with little pain. But just like fruit ripened with chemicals, what is easy often lacks depth, flavor, and quickly fades. Conversely, true values, knowledge, resilience, lasting love, or inner maturity all demand silent and persistent effort, like climbing a mountain in fog. Each step laborious, often doubtful, but every step elevates the person. Difficulty isn't a barrier, but a test, helping us filter out superficial desires and retain what truly matters. It's in the struggle that we learn discipline, understand limits, and discover strengths we didn't know we had. Value, therefore, doesn't lie in the final result alone, but in who we become on that journey. When we understand that what's worthwhile is rarely easy, we become less impatient, less comparative, and more patient with ourselves. Each drop of sweat, each fall, carries meaning, like rough strokes, contributing to a complete painting. And then, when we reach what we've pursued, we not only possess the achievement, but also carry an unshakable inner strength, one that makes that value impossible to take away easily.